You have just received your Gentle Birth Pool. The very first thing right on top is going to be your set of instructions. First thing to do is sit down and actually read your instructions. Take everything out of the box and check it off according to the checklist too, and that is your first instruction. So I'm going to start taking things out and laying them aside. This box tells you what's inside: drain pump, thermostats, thermometer, faucet adapter, cleaning solution, sponge, and long gloves. And each of those are marked individually on your checklist. This is your pool liner, your disposable polyvinyl liner, which goes over the whole thing after you're done. This is going to be a cover for the pool. Covers are generally in blue. And this is your floor pad. Now the floor pad you're going to put down first to determine the size and area that you need for your pool. But let's take it and set it aside here. This is your handy dandy long-handled debris net. These are comfort rims. 3 pieces. They can go around the edge of the pool as you need them for elbows, heads, things like that. They're just a small piece of foam insulation, but it does help. The body of the pool is the foam inside the box, but even before that, I'm going to pull out my 2 heater pads. They're identical, and we want to make sure that we keep these flat at all times. The heaters work best when they're flat, so when you're repacking the box, you want to put these back around the edge of the foam. There's heater number 1 and heater number 2. First piece of foam, second piece of foam, and our frame. In one piece, set it down, and now you have an empty box. Okay, so the first thing to do is identify the area where you want to set up the pool and lay down the floor pad. Now, I always turn it over so that the folded side is down, but I just kind of get rid of the creases a little bit, like so. And then we want to set up our frame over the floor pad. Now this is a good place for us to set this up because I've got 2 outlets. I've got 1 on each wall. If you back it into a corner, you still want to leave room on the outer side of the pool, but you can put it into a corner. But it's also good to imagine yourself having room behind all areas of the tub. So I'm going to scoot this out just a little bit more, and that's going to give me an area behind the pool as well. And the frame is rolled up like a jelly roll, and you're going to unroll it and hook it together with this hinge pin that is stuck in here. That's one of your items on your checkoff list, is the hinge pin, because it won't work without it. So you put these 2 together and insert your pin right there in the middle. And then set up your frame. The main ingredient that stabilizes the whole pool is the water, and the water is the last thing that you're going to put in. Now if you notice the frame, we've got 1 hole on the side. Most of our frames nowadays have 2 holes, and we'll talk about that. That's for cords going through for the heater system. This particular one has 1 hole. We are in the process of converting them, and I'll show you how to set that up without any difficulty. The foam is the next part. We're going to take 1 piece of foam and place it on the inside, and there's a notch right here where your heater cords are going to go out, and this is for the side that does not have a hole in it. And it's notched so it can go in the seam of the pool. The next foam piece goes in, and it's going to fit very tightly. Now, if it's come out of the box and it's all wound up, you might want to take it on the reverse side and kind of bend it over to take some of that stretch out of it, you know, to get it to fit better. You want to mold it into where you're going to put it. If you notice, there's a complete hole here, not a notch, and that hole is going to be aligned with the hole in the side of the tub wall. The easiest thing that I can tell you to do to fit the two pieces of foam together is to bring the ends together and then flatten it out. And we can adjust where the holes are going to be. I'm going to turn it around so you can see it on camera. But here's my hole, but the hole in the foam isn't there, so I'm going to have to adjust it. It helps if we have two people. I'm going to call on another person because it is easier. If you're by yourself, you're going to have to play with it and adjust it. So I'm going to call on Jim to hold the two holes in place. All right. And if that one is held in place, then this one is going to fit over here. And it is tight, which is good. And the seam is done. And both of our indentation, a cutout, and our hole fit perfectly. And that's what we're aiming for. So now this is sturdy. Two people can pick this up and move it. Jim, do you want to come over here and get over on this side? And just, you can lift it. It's a whole frame. And we're going to set it right over the floor pad. The next task is our liner. This liner, every square millimeter has been cleaned on it. Probably the hardest thing is getting it out of its container. This is a heavy piece. It's 22 mil. Very hard to puncture. We're going to shake it out just to get the wrinkles out of it, like so. But before we place it over the frame, we need to insert the heater pads. Now the heater pads we've laid aside, and on each side of the liner there is a pre-formed pocket where the heater pad goes in, and it's labeled insert heater pad. Make sure it is wrinkle-free. The writing side, this side goes toward the water. So we've set it up so that when you insert the heater pad, it's writing side down. I'm going to take the cord, the heater cord, and wind my way over. There's an exit on the other side. And go ahead and pull that, Jim. And this is going to go in, and it's going to be flat right through. Okay. Let's do the other side. Just remember, writing side down. And if you think of where the cord is and where the hole in the side pocket is, you'll never be confused. I guess it helps if you have long arms. Okay, got it? That's easy enough. Okay, this cord is now going to go through this indentation, and it's on the outside, and the other cord is going to go through the hole. You want to make sure that the heater pad is well placed in there before you put the liner all the way around on the tub. Okay, now when we're starting with the liner, you want to start on one side and work your way around. If you're working with two people, you can each do it simultaneously. I like to grab the side of the liner and just place it over. At some point you might need to put your knee and push the tub in so that you can get it on. It fits very tightly, and just get it started, and then we're going to pull it down all the way to the floor, being conscious of the two hinges so that you're not going to poke the hinge pins through the fabric. Right here's my hinge pin, and I'm going to kind of do that one first so I don't poke. Now I pull it down and leave a little lip on the bottom. Now just feel on the side and make sure your heater, you can feel the heater right there, that it's on the side wall and not on the floor of the pool. So it starts here and stops there, and that's perfect. And your cords are out and it's ready to go. Don't want to have any wrinkles over the heater either. You want to make sure that it's flat. Now, in some cases, women will want something to sit on or cushion it. With utmost carefulness, you can put something underneath the entire apparatus, but it has to be between the two heaters. Cannot be in any way, shape, or form near a heater at all. And what do they put? A large cushion, like a couch cushion. If you put a pillow under the tub, it's going to flatten it like a pancake, and it's not going to do any good at all. Occasionally somebody will stick a step stool underneath the tub. That's okay too, but you can put a Rubbermaid footstool inside the water in the tub also. So it's up to you, but we don't recommend putting anything underneath the tub just in case it gets near one of the heaters. A disaster will happen. So please reconsider that and call us if you have those questions in mind. At this point, you're going to put your disposable liner over the whole entire thing. Okay, stop for a minute. You just find the open side and open it up, and we're going to drape it all the way over. Now becomes the challenge, getting a square liner in a round pool and getting all the fabric out of the way. You kind of have to burp the liner. And once you've got your disposable liner on, but you need to look again at where your plugs are and measure kind of the distance that you're going to have. Now the thermostat is not going to be hooked in until you have the water in, but you can take a quasi measurement because this is going to plug into the heater pad. Here is the length that you're going to have, and you cannot use any extra plugs or an extension cord to keep it completely safe. And now in the hospital, we can use a GFCI plug that can plug into a hospital wall. So that's what you're going to have to measure. We're going to turn the pool just slightly so that I can reach my plug behind the chair. And when you turn it, the whole thing comes, floor pad and all. This makes it a little easier for me to even go behind the chair. And just be conscious of cords lying around. In your kit, you have two thermostats that go along with the two heaters that you inserted into your pool liner. There's a marking on top that has degrees on it. You want to set it at 100 degrees. These thermostats will not heat the water. You must start with the temperature that you want to use, but they will maintain the temperature. So you've taken these out and you're going to identify the cord that you've pulled through and go ahead and hook them together. You want to make sure that it's well seated in there and that it's not loose at all. Once they're hooked together, take and straighten out the probe and the copper wire that it's attached to. Now these have been wound up for shipping, so you just want to kind of go down the copper wire and make sure that the bumps and wrinkles are out of it. Now the next step is to identify where your heating pad is. So you see the cord coming out. That's the edge of the heating pad. So you're going to feel again like you did before. And here's the edge of my heating pad. And here's the other edge of the heating pad. I don't want to place my thermostatic probe anywhere near there. And what I'm going to do is lift up the vinyl liner and place the probe between the disposable liner and on the inside of the pool on the permanent liner. I want to be well away from the heater and from connecting hinges of the pool. So I've identified where the end of my heater pad. So I'm going to bring it over this way. And I'm going to go between the two heater pads. So there's my other one. So I've got about, let's say I've got a good 2 feet to work with, but remember, we don't want a hinge involved. And it doesn't seem like I have one. Yes, I do have a hinge right here. So I'm going to place the thermostatic probe in between the two heater pads. There's the bottom of, or the edge of one. There's the edge of the other one. And here's my hinge right here. So I'm going to come at least 6 inches from the hinge and 6 to 8 inches from the heating pad itself. And I'm just going to thread it down all the way down the side till it's hanging there, letting this part, the thermostat, hang on the side. The water will keep it intact. It won't budge an inch. There is, in newer models of the tubs, a different style of heater. And this one is to be set at the highest setting, which says 95, but it's actually 100. And it plugs in the very same way. And I can do the same thing with this thermostat. You're ready for filling. You need to have at least one hose available. Hospitals traditionally use 2 or 3 hoses. You're going to need to hook the hose up to the faucet adapter that we've provided. 99% of faucets will accommodate this. Some designer faucets and things like that, kitchen and bathroom, you'll need a universal adapter. And so this little piece you might want to experiment with before the time comes to fill the pool. And let us know that it doesn't fit your particular faucet. Sometimes these don't all come back in one piece. This disconnects. And this part hooks to your faucet. This is the part that hooks to the hose. Some people unhook this part and forget to take this one off. So just be conscious of that at the end. We also send shower adapters for the hospital. You have a shower connector and your hose, and we need a handy dandy pair of pliers. So I usually keep them inside this little box here. So I'm going to hang the hose up for just a second. I'm going to take this one off, the hose that's on there already. There we go. Get our pliers working. Just let that drain. And I like to hook it up in the shower just in case there's any spillage from the sink. That way we don't have to wipe up a mess. The shower has, contains any drips or drabs that come out. And so this just hooks back up to here. And I just give it a nice big twist. I don't like to hook it on there too hard because we got to get it off in a few minutes. So then we're going to hook up our hose end right here. I'm sticking the pliers in my pocket. And get that nice and tight. And I like to leave that connection on the floor of the shower in case it leaks or drips. And now we're going to fill. For the purpose of this video, we are not filling with water, but you're going to drape your hose in. A couple of things. Drape your hose in well into the tub itself before you turn on the water. You might even want to have someone watching it, because if you turn on full force, it could conceivably jump out of the pool. Another thing is that you might want to, before you drape the hose into the tub, you might want to run water through it to get it up to temperature. In your instructions are all the things about filling with hot water and water heater capacity, and you can read that part based on what your particular water heater capacity is. In a hospital, they have endless supply of hot water. In a hospital situation or a large capacity water heater, from the time that you turn on the faucet to the time that it is full to the point where you can plug it in to keep it warm is usually about 20 minutes. Just imagine that we've put an inch of water in the pool, and then we stop, we turn it off, and then we're going to straighten wrinkles out, and it will go wrinkle-free at that point. I'm a very conscientious wrinkle person, and I don't want a mom to complain about her water birth experience because there was a wrinkle in her tub, kind of like the princess and the pea syndrome. So we've got the pool filled now, and at this point you do not leave a hose in a full pool, because if you do that and disconnect it from your water source, you're going to end up with a puddle on the floor. So very consciously take it out, disconnect the two hoses, or the two ends, and put them together like so to avoid any drips. Now the water's in. We're going to measure the temperature with the ducky. We want it at 100 degrees. So while you're filling it, it's good to check it, take it out, let it cool off, put it back in, check it again, and you want to check it to make sure that it's not above 101 degrees. But when the ducky floats in the pool, there's enough water for mom to get in and sit down. That should be about halfway. Once the water is in, your thermostats are set up. If you want to leave the tub filled and not get in it for a while, and to help maintain the temperature, we have included a pool cover, which will fit over the top of the pool. Sometimes I'll even, after putting the cover on, put a bedspread over the whole thing just to insulate it even more. Now, this is one of our newer pool covers, and we have, because of client input, made them a little bit larger. Our older pool covers float on top of the water. Your pool is going to be an inch larger all the way around because the pressure of the water is going to push it out. And then this cover will float on it. So we have some new ones, we have some old ones, so you might get one that actually floats on the water. And with that, I still would put a bedspread over the whole thing. You can always wash your bedspread if it gets wet. Thank you for imagining that this tub is full of water. And now our probes are set and we're ready to plug them in the wall. But I must caution you, our tub is empty and you do not want to plug the thermostats in until the tub is full over the top edge of the heater. And you can easily feel the heater pad with or without water. And you want to be above the heater pad about 2 inches. Remember also that body weight displaces water and raises your water level. So if friend, partner, husband, mother, sister are going to get in the pool with you, just think of body weight displacement. If the water level drops at all because of body weight displacement, be conscious of where that heater is and do not let the water level drop below the level of the heater. What will result is damage to the foam walls, to the heater itself, sometimes to the vinyl liner. And nobody likes to deal with that after birth. So just be conscious of those things, and I'm sure everything will be fine. We've got these little pieces here that sometimes folks wonder what they're for. Well, they're called comfort rims, and it's simply to put on the edge of the pool. It's not to hold down the disposable liner, but if mother wants to put her head there or lean on it, it just gives a little bit more comfort. And we have 3 of them because her midwife might want some comfort. In getting positions to sit in or lean on the pool, just be conscious of where the heaters are, where the thermostats are, and you don't want to sit your back and lean on the back of one of the heaters. First of all, it's going to be too hot for you to lean on it. Second of all, it's going to give the heater uneven pressure and will cause some overheating if you lean on it for a great length of time. Hands and knees, leaning over the side of the heater, that's no problem because it's embedded in the wall. So you can lean over this side even though the heater is right here. That's not a problem, but just don't put your back against it. So if someone else is going to get in the tub, lean against the wall for mom to sit on or lean against. Just make sure that you're not leaning against one of the heaters and remember where they are. And you probably don't want to lean against thermostats. That might help you make decisions of how you're going to place the pool when you're setting it up. Now, of course, if you unplug the heaters and don't have them working at the time when mom starts to push, you don't have to worry about any of this. You can sit wherever you want and do whatever you want at that point. But if the heaters are plugged in and functional and the thermostats are, recording the temperature, you have to be aware of that. So use your comfort rims, and they're slightly curved, so you want to put them following the curve. And they do pop off, and that's not a problem. Sometimes they'll float in the pool. So now we're going to drain the imaginary water. We're done with the birth. Mother and baby are safe in bed. We're going to unplug the heaters, the very first thing. You can actually disconnect the thermostats and get them out of your way. So we're going to pull that out, and we're going to pull our thermostat out, and we're going to set these aside to package and put away in the box that they came in. This is to help protect your clothing. Because see, I've got a sweater on, I'm not even going to take it off. And I'm going to put my glove on. And let's say there might be a towel in there or a cup. I'm going to get my ducky. Any noticeable debris you're going to take out of the pool before you put your drain pump in to drain it. I'm going to take my hose and insert it onto the top of the drain pump and make sure that it's a tight connection, because you want to make sure all the water goes through the drain pump and doesn't leak from the hose. And at this point I'm going to submerge it. I'm going to turn it slightly on its side so that it's not pressing on the floor of the pool, because its suction is very good and it will suck up the liner when you're trying to drain it. Before I plug it in, I want to make sure that the end of my hose is placed where I want the water to drain into. Typically at home, we'll put it in the toilet or the bathtub, kind of circled around. Occasionally some folks like to put it out an open window and water their flowers too. In the hospital, we always put it down the toilet, and you don't have to worry about the toilet overflowing. The pressure from the pumping will automatically take it down the pipes. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes to drain all of the water out of the pool. Now let's imagine that the water level is down to about an inch, and at that point I'm going to pull up my disposable liner and pull the water closer and closer and into smaller and smaller area, because this drain pump will drain all of the water out of the pool. And just make sure that the drain pump is covered, at least the bottom 1/3 of it. If it gets uncovered for any reason, it might stop working because you'll get an air bubble in it. And if that happens, just drop what you're doing, unplug the drain pump, lift it up out of the water, let it just sit there for a minute or so. You might even take it out and set it on a towel or in a bucket, and it has to burp, basically. All that air bubble has to get out of it. You can put it back into the water at that point and start draining it again. So you're going to get the water in a smaller and smaller and smaller puddle, and finally it will get down to the very last drop. Unplug the drain pump, set it in your towel, on your towel or on your bucket, because it will drip. And this now can be thrown away. In the hospital, biohazard waste. At home, put it into your garbage can. The bottom of the permanent liner may have some water on it. Moisture might have gotten between it. Normally though, it's pretty dry, but you just want to make sure that it is dry before you put it back in the box to send back to us. We have included a clean, brand new sponge and a bottle of cleaning solution. And it says pour contents of bottle into 2 quarts of warm water. That's like a bucket. And use the sponge that's provided and wipe down the inside of the pool surfaces. You don't have to rinse it off, just dry it off. So let's pull off the liner a little at a time. It's clean and dry. And we're just gonna go around in reverse like we put it on and just pull it up little at a time. The next step is to pull it over to the side and disconnect the heater from it. I'm going to pull the heater cord just right back out the way we did and pull it out. And just set the heater aside now, flat on the floor. Now let's take the floor pad out and set that aside. The floor pad might have some moisture on it from drips and things, and it's good to just set it aside and let it air before you put it in the box and then dry it down. So we're going to take the foam out. So we're going to slip out the hinge and immediately put it back in. We don't want to leave the hinge pin behind, so just put it into one of the open hinges. And then I'm going to roll the frame up like a jelly roll. And get it into the box. One person can easily lift this up. Once it's in the box, we're going to spread it open so that we can put the foam back inside of it. I'm going to start with a piece of foam, and I'm just going to kind of squish it down and roll it on the floor. And then I'm putting it into the hole, the well, that the pool frame established. Second piece of foam, same way. But I have to roll it just a wee bit tighter than the first piece. If you have a table to work on or the top of your bed, it can keep your back happy, prevent you from rolling things on a dirty floor. That just fits down inside of there. At this point, you can stick the heaters, just like they were when you got them, in between the foam. And this will keep them flat and wrinkle-free. If you can find the little twist ties that were on them, fine. If not, just stick them in. Thank you very much. And if you can't find those twist ties, you might find them in your bread drawer. That's where mine are. Stick them down in the corner of the box. I would take the comfort rims and stick them in the sides at this point as well. Let's go ahead and put the pool cover and the floor pad. Now, as I said, if the floor pad is wet, we need to dry it off. Pool cover wet, dry it off also. We just make it round, fit it down into that well. And the same thing with the pool cover. Now we're ready to fold the liner and get it into a small package. So you can work on the floor or on a tabletop or bed. Have the two sides meet in the middle. And then just scrunch it down as much as you can. That looks great, Jim. And put that down into the middle of the well once again. Now the last thing to pack up is the equipment that we took out of the equipment box. And I've got my equipment box here. As you're putting everything into the box, I want you to take a pen and cross it off on the equipment list. So this is what we've put in. This is what you're going to return. The only thing we don't want back are used gloves. You can send your used debris net. That's fine. You can send back the used bottle of liquid and the used sponge. Just put them all back in. We've included in the box a bag for your drain pump because your drain pump is going to be wet and you don't want to wait for 2 or 3 days for it to dry out. So I'm going to stick this down on the bottom of the box, then go and get my drain pump, and hopefully it's not dripping anymore. We'll clean the drain pump when it gets back to Oregon. Lower it down into the baggie. And then get my cord kind of wrapped around the top of it. We need to put the thermostats in here, your cleaning solution, and sponge. Now, getting the thermostats back in the box might be a slight challenge. try not to twist this too much, but you do need to bring it around a little bit so that it simply fits in the box. And you can wind it as such and put them in here. Don't forget the ducky. Ducky should go in the box also because we don't want it to rattle around. And gloves can just be dropped in. And one last thermostat. And I have forgotten one piece. The most frequently forgotten piece is the faucet adapter. It's in the bathroom. So making sure I have both pieces of the faucet adapter. I'm going to put it back in its little baggie. If you want to remember what you're putting back into this box, just look at your list. And there we go. And this will fit right down in the middle. Tape it up. Do take care, and God bless. And call us if you need us, 1-800-641-2229, or page us on the digital pager at 1-800-507-6103. And do have a safe, wonderful, and gentle birth.
Sometimes a dream is like a fickle flame. You turn a corner, say a word, and everything will change. One day when you're not looking, an angel flutters down and puts a baby in your arms and turns your life